I'd like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation by, oops, do people need a break?
The other one will take a few hours. I don't know.
Yeah, unless there's a, okay. So it's a presentation by the CSA group on the Nuclear Standards Program response to the CNSC Fukushima Task Force recommendation 9.4 is outlined in CMD 14M9 and 14M9.A. And I understand that we have John Faut online. What do you mean? Can you hear us?
Yes, Dr. Binder, I am online and I can hear you quite well. Thank you.
Great. You're coming through loud and clear. And I understand that Ms. Chianchetti will make the presentation. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Mary Cianchetti. I am the Program Manager for the Nuclear Portfolio at CSA Group. With me today is Greg Orloff, Director of CSA's Energy Standards, Candace Seller, Project Manager for CSA Standard on Nuclear Emergency Management Programs, and via teleconference, John Froats, Chair of our Strategic Steering Committee. In May of 2012, we appeared before you to respond to the CNSC's Fukushima Task Force recommendations, specifically our position on Recommendation 9.4. Today, we would like to update you on the work we have completed. For those of you who are not at our last presentation, I'd also like to provide a brief background on CSA Group and our programs. CSA Group is a not-for-profit membership-based association serving business, government, and consumers with over 3,000 published codes and standards. CSA Standards development process is accredited by Standards Council of Canada. Once published, our standards are living documents, continuously revised and refreshed to address changing requirements and emerging technologies. CSA standards must be reviewed and subsequently reaffirmed, updated, or withdrawn at minimum every 5 years. CSA Group's nuclear program develops vital standards to promote the safe operation of the nuclear power industry in Canada. The program standards are developed by over 400 expert volunteer committee members. Committee members are leading experts in their fields and are selected to represent various interest groups most likely to be affected by the standard. These interest groups generally fall in the categories of government, owner-operators, suppliers and fabricators, service industry, and general interest groups. CNSC staff participate on all levels of our committees within this program, and they have a vote on all standards. Oversight of this program is provided by CSA's Nuclear Strategic Steering Committee. This committee provides program direction on content and quality. The chair of this committee, John Froats, is an associate professor and nuclear engineer in residence at the University of Toronto Institute of Technology. He has 38 years of experience in nuclear reactor design, startup, and operation. And in addition, the committee's vice chair is Mark Dallaire, Director General of the Regulatory Policy Directorate at the CNSC. Under the Strategic Steering Committee's guidance, the program maintains a suite of over 40 nuclear standards, 31 of which are directly referenced in regulatory documents, including licenses and license conditions handbooks of nuclear operating facilities across Canada. These standards complement regulation and form part of the CNSC regulatory framework. In addition, in response to CNSC's initiative for enhanced public transparency, all of CSA's nuclear standards are now available for view access by the public. Shortly after the Fukushima event in March 2011, the CSA Nuclear Strategic Steering Committee met to share their perspectives on the Fukushima event and outlined what steps they would take in response. In May 2011, this committee's approach was presented to CNSC management. By November 2011, this committee had developed an initial review of the existing suite of CSA nuclear standards against CNSC and WANO action notices and subsequent industry response. This step confirmed that the current set of standards was robust and that opportunities to enhance the program existed. In May 2012, CSA presented their nuclear program's approach and findings at a CNSC Commission meeting. At this point, CSA committed to complete the review and provide the CNSC with an action plan by the end of 2013. Since then, the nuclear program, under the guidance of its Strategic Steering Committee, has developed an action plan identifying Fukushima-related emerging opportunities, those requiring the development of new standards, as well as issues to be included in upcoming updates to existing standards. Many elements of this action plan have already begun, others are planned for. All identified actions are planned to be completed within 6 years of the event and are running to schedule. This action plan was submitted to the CNSC this past December. It includes a detailed description of what will be addressed within each identified standard and will be outlined later in this presentation. This slide is an excerpt from the CNSC Staff Action Plan on the Fukushima Task Force recommendations. It highlights Recommendation 9.4, which calls on CSA to provide an action plan on how it will address lessons learned from the Fukushima event. The following slide indicates which existing standards already have been or will be updated during the revision cycles. Our action plan includes the revision of 7 existing standards. 1 of these standards has already been published. 2 projects have begun and are on schedule. The remaining projects will begin later this year. The next slide indicates which new standards will be developed. The timing for many of these standards projects has been chosen to complement the CNSC's regulatory framework plan and international standards work. Development of our nuclear standards normally follows the establishment of a Canadian regulatory policy decision on the given topic. And in our written submission, you will note that we've indicated which projects rely on the establishment of a policy approach or on international alignment. Our action plan calls for the development of 5 new standards. One of these projects, which is on emergency management, has already begun and is running on schedule for a June 2014 publication. 2 others will begin this year, and the remaining will start the following year. In conclusion, we've completed the work needed to satisfy the identified CNSC recommendation and action. The work plan outlined in our submission to the CNSC shows how the CSA nuclear program has responded to the Fukushima event and how we plan to address the identified issues and opportunities. The CSA nuclear program has and will continue to work with all industry stakeholders, as well as the CNSC, to review its suite of standards against emerging changes to regulatory framework, lessons learned, technology, and leading industry practice. We welcome further dialogue on our submitted plans. Concludes my presentation.
Thank you.